Dynasty's Great Axe left a lot of us warriors blue-balled, but Great Axe 2.0, well, now that's a different story. Dusk Till Dawn's Decimator Great Axe is a very intriguing weapon. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again. A fabulous cast. Thanks for tuning in today. Talking the Decimator Great Axe. Great Axe 2.0, which is significantly better than its predecessor. We did a whole video in the past on the downfalls or the shortcomings, there we go, of the previous axe, right? The Merciless Battle Axe and Battle Axe Great Axe 2.0. Well, now this is intriguing now, isn't it? So Decimator Great Axe, once per turn for 3, swing 4. And the first time this is defended by a non-equipment card each turn, doesn't matter if it's from arsenal, from hand, whatever, have the base defense of the target defending. So a 3 goes to 2, a 4 goes to 2. If they're trying to de-react into a 4, which a lot of times you do. Very, very intriguing. Now, quick rules clarification, throwing it up there. Flick Flack, for example, right? So this, I'm just stick with me. I'm taking a mortar right back to the Shire, okay? So Flick Flack, if you Flick Flack, and then the next time you actually defend with 2 cards with combo, it still only pumps one of those cards. And the person responsible for choosing which of those cards is the person playing them, because Flick Flack is their trigger, right? So if I'm the person defending and I play Flick Flack on link 1, and then I defend with 2 combo cards on link 2 for whatever reason, I only choose one of them to get the bonus, even though cards are defending simultaneously. From that effect, you only get one. That's the way it's been ruled, and actually they use Flick Flack as an example in the rules, so we know that's the way it works. Now, Decimator Great Axe, if they were to, again, because it's simultaneous defending, if they were to defend with 2 cards, because it's even though it's your effect, we still believe that because they're the one defending, they would get to choose, but we'll wait for the release notes and all the clarifications and the judges to do their thing. Functionally, more than likely, it's all going to be the same. But again, like if they were to defend with a non-attack that was 2 and an attack that was 3, which one of those get halved? Again, it's the same net effect in that case. But again, it could matter, I suppose, right? So just wanted to throw that out there. All right, so my first bullet up there is not like a guardian. It's also my last bullet, by the way. So I think that's a very important thing to think about as we are talking about the Decimator Great Axe, is you look at this and you're like, oh, it's a 3 for 4. It's very easy, I think, to fall into that kind of trap of thinking fatigue, maybe, right? Something like that. And I'm not saying you can't play this as a fatigue strategy, but what I'm saying is if you're going to do that, if you're going to play this like a guardian, don't guardians just do it better? That's really kind of the thesis statement that I'm proposing here, and kind of that will carry throughout this discussion, is we're not going to play this like a guardian in the traditional guardian sense, because quite frankly, I believe they can just do it better. Instead, what we're going to do is take more of I think the strength of the Decimator Great Axe really lies in the mid-ranginess of it, because again, you're 3 for 5. Kind of, effectively, right? And if you think about this from a CC perspective, if they don't block this because they're disincentivized to block this, well, that's only 10 swings, right? And yes, there's equipment, so maybe it's 11 and 11 and a half, whatever, but y'all pick up what I'm laying down. They're going to have to block this. You're going to get value out of this at some point. You're going to grind them down, and then your reacts, your reprises at least become useful. So, all right, now next part of this is what hero to use with this. I mean, I don't really care what format you're talking. Actually, it doesn't matter, in my opinion, what format you're talking. Dorinthea is the correct call, because Boltyn doesn't, like, you're charging into Boltyn. I think with what he's trying to do, it doesn't make any sense. Kassai's ability is completely worthless on this. And Dorinthea, are we going to swing this 2 times per turn? Highly unlikely. Very unlikely. but it could happen once per game. And again, once you get down the threat of that happening with, maybe your boots on the table, and by that I mean Dorinthea's boots on the table, their bolters, refraction bolters on the table. It's a threat if you have an extra card in hand. Probably you're hoping probably it's a react. They're probably not, but either way, Dorinthea is clearly just the right call just from the card pool that's out there. So she's who we're going to be, again, for the rest of this video, talking about who we're running with. All right. Now, blue ratio, I know I said don't play it like a Guardian, but I think by and large, we're going to be playing roughly a similar ratio as what the Guardians play. And by that specifically, I mean Bravo, actually. So I think it's going to be like just shy of 50%. And in CC, it may be less than that. In Blitz, I think it's probably going to be like 18 cards. Maybe 17, 16, somewhere in that range is about as low as you want to go. Because you do want to be able to consistently threaten. And again, remember, most of your cards block for 3. So having a surplus of blues is not the end of the world. Your main offensive point to close here is going to be this. So you don't care about getting you don't necessarily care about getting a bunch of blues in game. So I think you're probably running a similar ratio to that, 16, 18, 20 seems high to just me on the surface without having played a bunch of reps with this, but that's what it seems like to me. All right, so now pumps is the sexiest part of this whole thing, right? Cleave is, a cheap ass card that's really, really good, 1 for 4, but this is a 3 for 4 swing, this axe. So anything you're throwing, and that's really something to keep in context, right? Is if we're going to be running a lot of blues and anything that we're throwing as a front pump, well, realistically, think about that. If we're running a bunch of blues, we have to pitch an extra card or tunic. Yes, we're running tunic with this because why wouldn't you, right? You want the extra there to threaten. But to my point, if we're going to, throw up 1 for 4, well, with another blue is what I'm saying. I mean, even if something like an overpower looks pretty hot, right? It really does look pretty hot. So that's really something to keep in mind. I'm not saying don't run cleave, and cleave is really strong, but going into felling swing, right? Felling swing, I think we run the rainbow of this because why not? Felling swing, being able to just threaten this. And so you're throwing 10 with it's 10, 11 with an asterisk, right? It's kind of like the Kassai Cintauri Saber. It actually is very similar to the Cintauri Saber thing. It's like effectively 10 threaten 11. And this it's not true because in this case, it's like 10 threaten less block, but effectively you understand what I'm saying, right? You throw a 10 at them with a 3-card hand in that case, right? A red felling swing and 2 blues. That's a lot. And if you're in Blitz, like that's a lot. So that's pretty fascinating and scary. And it's what a lot of us have been looking for. And then sure, there's the second swing, threaten it, I guess, if you've got your boots on and another blue. I don't really think that's going to work. We could talk about that kind of in the tricks part. I don't want to get ahead of myself. So now let's move into the reacts part of this. So Iron Song response, 0 for 3 with reprise, or 0, 3, 2, 1 with reprise. I think you're definitely running the blue. I think you're probably running the red. Again, it blocks for 3. One of my original lists of this actually was running Rainbow of it, just for late game. And again, because of the fact that it blocked 3. And again, with your pumps, if you're throwing a 1 pump, a yellow will do. A red will do too, I suppose. But kind of the idea to threaten like a route or something like that. Right? Because if you have an arsenal, they have to worry about route, stuff like that. Because they declare which one's -1, and then you bounce the other one at +3. It's pretty freaking dirty. It's good, right? So the React suite, the ones I like, obviously, just out of the gate are always the ones. The 1 for 3s, right? Stroke, Puncture, and Out for Blood are the ones that come to mind. You could also run Razor, and then what's the one from the 2-player sets? It's not Rapid Reflex, but, I'll put it up, the one from the 2-player set. I can't think of the name right now. My apologies. But all of that stuff's really strong because, again, you can just kind of tuck it in Arsenal, and then if you have a turn where you've got an extra card, or maybe your tunic's ticked up, you throw the 1 over top, you stick damage. It doesn't take too many of those to get folks grind down, especially when they're probably not blocking this for the early part of the game, by and large. So I think you force them to block it. You do your felling swings and stuff like that. And then maybe you've got one floating and you can stick them for another 3. That's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. And then when they have to start blocking, you just kind of grind them out. It's pretty cool. Right, so now into the tricky tricks, and I'll talk about tricky tricks and boots and Lodo kind of at the same time. The refraction bolters, I think, is actually probably best used in this case with, let me set the scenario, right? So I don't know why you would I don't think you do play Warrior's Valor on this, but let's say you Warrior's Valor Decimator Great Axe, right? So this is threatening 7, or it's coming for 7 with an asterisk, right? It gets go again if it hits. Actually, that's a bad example with the boots because it would already get go again, right? But so any pump, let's do cleave at that point, right? So now it's coming for 8 with an asterisk. That's a better one. 8 with an asterisk. Okay, it hits. You can pop your boots. We've got 2 floating. Well, I think something like a CNC is actually not a bad follow up there, right? Because you threaten a bunch up front. If they block it, fine. Tuck the CNC or whatever it may be, and then, right, because you didn't have enough to second swing anyway, right? So I think that's where the quote unquote dirty play lies, is that you can pump and then throw like a CNC on the back. Now, sure, that's a 4-card hand, but again, that works out pretty well. That's a lot of damage being threatened with that 4-card hand. That's almost lethal damage, right? I mean, there's a lot going on there. I get it. Magical Christmas Land, everything lines up. But I think that's actually the play, because then you can threaten the react, you can threaten the front pump, whatever it may be, and then still have 2 floating, and then actually use your boots for the CNC or whatever you want to come with. I think that's the better play than trying to axe, because remember, you're not getting counters out of it or anything. So I think you just want to maximize value. And then again, having those 2s on board, if you do have just a yellow in hand or something like that, they're still utility cards. So that's where my tricky tricks things come in. So as far as the loadout goes, I do think you're probably playing Crown, playing Braveforge Bracers. I don't think you play the new gloves. I think you just play Bracers here. Again, Bracers isn't going to get you anything necessarily, because if you're hitting with this and you have 1 floating to pay to give it a bump, that's like a win more type scenario. But to pay 1 on front for the threat of hit, maybe with the new gloves. I'll give you that. Maybe. I mean, it's effectively the same block, but yeah, actually, it doesn't probably matter. Play whichever one you want, right? And then definitely playing Tunic, definitely playing Crown, and then definitely playing. I mean, what's Valiant Dynamo is going to get you, right? So play the bolters. That's the right play. All right, we already talked a lot about second swing as I kind of got here. It's cool. Again, there's no reason not to play Dorinthea. That's the threat of her doing that. She's the best hero positioned flat out to do this. It's the right play, but is playing for second swing or is playing for throwing 11, 12 with a minus on block and then maybe something on hit. I think that's the right answer. And into the point where you just push the damage, force them to block, your Iron Sun responses become good, and then you don't have to worry about anything other than a blue. I think it's pretty good, right? So it's primary focus on single swing warrior with one time you get a trick, which you can set up and maximize. I think it's pretty hot. All right, and then just to close this out, again, this is not a Guardian deck, okay? This is going to be different. You are going to try to push damage, maybe not as aggressively as like a Dawnblade deck, but you're going to push damage. If I believe that in this deck, if all you're doing is throwing 4 with a blue every turn, I think probably you're playing the wrong class. I think instead, right, because like it would be very easy in this deck to be like, well, I'm going to play Decimator Great Axe, 16, 17 blues, and a whole bunch of D-Reacts and Oasis Respites and all that. Fair enough, but I think you should just play a Guardian in that case. So I think Decimator Great Axe is its own thing. I think you need to kind of aggressively push damage. I mean, its bonus is when people block it, right? That's why you're playing this card, I mean, the 3 for 4 is not bad, but this card's bonus gives you a bonus only when people block it. So what should you do? You should be in a place where you're forcing people to block it, not just when they only have like 7 cards left in their deck. Right. So anyway, that's my take on it. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you agree, if you disagree. Completely fair. There's a lot of people excited about this. I know there's a lot of crazy ruse around there, but I do think this card's actually worth playing. Probably more effective in Blitz. Probably. But again, I can see the 10 swings to death threat thing being like a real thing. Because it does. It de-incentivizes blocks, which until a certain point. And then, ooh, it's reprise time, baby. So anyway, let me know what y'all are thinking. For my channel members, my deck list for this, for Blitz, is already posted as of the time you're seeing this. So if you do want to join us, it's down there. It's the channel join button. Go ahead and give that a click. You can come check out the deck list with the link. Give it a shot. But anyway, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. Swing those big axes. Careful, because this one looks heavy. If nothing else, go Commando.